these 5 closers you need to target in your 2026 fantasy baseball drafts.
All right, guys, I'm going to kick us off with a guy that you're going to need to reach for because he is probably going to be the best closer in the league, if not the second best behind Edwin Diaz, I do believe. But Mason Miller is going to have some great opportunities in a Padres uniform. We saw a little bit of it last year. He was kind of contending with Robert Suarez, who is now out of there, which is great for Mason Miller. It just opens him up completely. He had 22 saves last year, and I think he's going to be one of the guys to crack about 40 to 42, 43 saves. I could see him safely in that ballpark. He had a .91 whip, a 2.63 ERA. The whip is insane. The guy can pitch. I saw him earlier today. He was, I think, pitching in the 3rd inning of the game. Guy has one of the nastiest sliders on top of that fastball that is insane. So I'm really excited for him. He's going to be a guy that if I see him in that like third round, I think I might reach for him a little early to solidify that closer role if I don't get Edwin Diaz. But man, Mason Miller's going to be so sick this year.
Definitely, and their ADPs are very similar in terms of Miller and Diaz right now. So you kind of like pick your poison in a way. I guess if we're splitting hairs between these guys because we're comparing them, I'd probably lean Mason Miller for the fact that I think the Dodgers are going to blow a lot of teams out. And also, they do still have some decent bullpen arms, you know, when Tanner Scott and stuff comes back and Phillips. Maybe they sneak in for a couple saves because they don't need to be pitching. But the Padres are going to be playing in more closer games. Mason Miller is probably, in terms of, you know, stuff, the best closer in baseball. Maybe behind him or Duran because his pitches move crazy. But easily one of the better pitchers in baseball. I firmly believe, you know, obviously going at the ADP that he's at, I think he's even worth it, especially in those leagues, you know, with where you count whip or even saves for categories. So,
100%. He's gonna be fun.
Definitely. And I will move this over to a guy who actually screwed me over last year in the fantasy playoffs, but I still think he is, you know, gonna have a great year, and that is Daniel Palencia of the Chicago Cubs. I was actually going against Josh in the semifinals, and it was, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think he allowed like 6 runs or something in the 9th inning, got the loss, and that pretty much lost me that matchup against him to go to the finals. But
I think in points wise, he got -25. I think that's what it was.
Something stupid like that, where it just didn't even give me a chance. And unfortunately, you know, he did that to me. But he's a great pitcher. Besides that,
100%.
You know, he did have some blow up innings, or I guess outings for the Cubs last year. So hopefully he can knock that off. He's their surefire closer on one of the better teams in the league. I think the best thing about him is his the investment in him is very low. Like, a lot of people aren't really targeting him at the moment, which right now he's sitting at around 171 ADP, which is kind of
that's insane. Oh my gosh.
A closer on one of the better teams in baseball, just because he's fully not proven yet. I get why people say that. He can definitely blow up a lot in the early season and potentially lose his job, but I don't think that's the case. He has one of the most electric fastballs in the league. He's purely stuff based. He's going to blow it by you. He'll tell you he's throwing a fastball and still blow it by you. Daniel Palencia will be one of the, I think he'll be top 5 in saves this year, and he's going to definitely pay off.
I really like that. It's a very low risk bet you're taking with that, especially like in the 170 range. I think that's a great pick. I mean, if you're not getting the top 2 guys in the very early rounds, like, you know, Miller or Diaz, being able to get a surefire closer at 170 is massive. And I mean, any of these guys that you can get in these mid rounds where they're the like surefire closer, there's nobody else really in line for them, is going to be really massive. Like Carlos Estevez had a fantastic year last year, 42 saves, led the MLB, 1.06 whip, 2.45 ERA. He was nasty. I do think he's going to have another year with probably around the same amount of saves. He's their guy, their closer. So I think he's just going to be really good. The Royals, you know, had one of the worst offenses in the league last year. So they keep games really close, and that's really important for saves. So I think he's going to have that same amount of stats, probably just a little bit of a reduction in strikeouts, but I don't see him going under 35 saves. And I think Carlos Estevez is going to be another top 5 closer for sure. And especially when you can get him at around like 110, I think that's great value.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree with you there. I mean, he led all of the league in saves last year. He's an Angels legend. We made him into the person he is today. I'm super happy to see how good he's done. It's, being 42 saves on an 82 win team is kind of crazy. And saving pretty much all of their wins, or half of their wins. I think, the Royals not having the best offense in the world, but pretty damn good starting pitching allows for him to get a lot of save opportunities. And when you're drafting a closer, that is essentially what you want. And pairing that up with, good stuff, I think Carlos Estevez will be a great closer.
100%.
I'll move that over to my next guy of the Toronto Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman. Right now,
he was nasty.
He's a good pitcher, and last year, the reason why his saves weren't too sexy in terms of number-wise, I mean, he had 33, which is pretty good, but he was also kind of in a closer by committee, but not really. He was kind of like 1A, and then there was a couple guys for like 2B, 2As who would get some saves in there as well. But now he's kind of fully proven himself that he is that guy, so he's going to be their full-time closer starting the year. On obviously one of the better teams in baseball who just made the World Series last year.
Yeah, no, I do think that Jeff Hoffman's going to be really good. I mean, we saw him in the playoffs. He was a stud in the playoffs too. He was nasty. I don't see why they didn't give him basically all the saves last year. It could be that issue of he wasn't proven enough, I guess. But he was nasty. To convert 33 saves on that team is awesome. They are so good, and he's going to have a ton of opportunity for sure.
Definitely, and they got some injuries to start with the year with Yimi Garcia, who has taken some of his saves away, but now he's their guy. I think Jeff Hoffman is firmly going to be one of the better closers in the league, and I'm going to pencil him for 35 saves on the year.
I like that a lot. And I'm going to move to an Angels legend, Kenley Jansen. He converted 29 saves out of the 30 chances that he got last year. That's an insane clip. When I saw that stat, I thought that's pretty damn awesome. For him to be going around the 150 range is really, really great value. Again, he went to the Tigers. He's only going to get more opportunities. I mean, they had some shaky closers last year with Will Vest and Tommy Kenley. They started off really great. They were probably one of the better 1-2 punches. But now that they kind of blew up, and I believe they lost Kenley, right? And getting Kenley now back in here, I think he's going to go for, I'm calling it over 35 saves. All these closures that we've got for you have really good potential for over 35 saves.
For sure.
And that's saying something.
Yeah. Going to Kenley Jansen, and also going to Jeff Hoffman, these guys are like, you're not really investing like a ton of draft capital compared to like a Miller, who's obviously one of the best closers in the league. So you're taking less risk for someone who could potentially be a top 5 closer end of year, which that's obviously what you're looking for. And Kenley Jansen's now being that good that he was last year, 29 of 30 on the Angels, who suck, going to now the Tigers, who are one of the better teams in baseball with some elite starting pitchers. He's going to be getting a lot of save chances, and I think Kenley Jansen's going to surprise people again in his age 39 season.
I think that's insane.
Well, 38, he'll be 39 at the end of the season, but still, 38 is crazy.
100%. He's a stud, man, and it's going to be really fun to see him in a Tigers uni. I think he's in a shred. He really is going to surprise people. It wouldn't shock me, honestly. These 5 closers, you can pretty much pencil them in as top 5 closers in the game right now. I think they have an easy chance of reaching it.
I honestly don't disagree there. And you got some other great pitchers, Duran and Diaz,
yeah.
But like I think all these guys in terms of draft investment capital are definitely, all of these guys are going past 120 ADP minus Miller. So very low investment risk into these guys, and I think you should
100%
all of them. The best part is none of these guys really have any competition for saves, which in my opinion is the biggest factor to look into.
100%, especially if they can stay healthy, man. Like not having any traffic in the the saves aisle is awesome. So I think that's going to be really cool.
Definitely, and definitely target these guys in your drafts. Thank you all for watching. Let us know what content you want to see. 94% of you guys are not subscribed. We will catch you guys in the next one.